Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you thought the AI news cycle was fast, well, buckle up. We are looking at a stack of sources that suggest the entire landscape is entering a whole new phase. We're seeing these staggering infrastructure buildouts, radical new corporate structures, and, maybe most importantly, a pivot. Away from just bigger models to, well, smarter autonomous agents. Our mission today is really to give you the shortcut, to distill the key, maybe surprising insights from these rapid shifts. We're seeing it across finance, infrastructure, core research. This isn't just, incremental progress anymore. It feels like a foundational rewrite of how AI is being built and, frankly, sold.
That's exactly right. For you, the listener, the critical takeaway here, I think, is understanding that the AI giants, they're no longer focusing only on performance benchmarks. They are fundamentally restructuring their entire business model, their supply chain even. They're aiming for leaner, far more capable results and delivered faster, significantly cheaper. The focus seems to have really moved to sustained exponential growth.
Okay, right. So let's try and unpack this. The ultimate question guiding our exploration today has got to be, who is building the biggest, most expensive box, and who's filling it with the smartest, most cost-effective models? We have to start with the muscle, right? The infrastructure wars. The sheer scale of compute commitment we've seen in just the last 6 months or so. It's just unprecedented. And here's where it gets really interesting. We're not talking megabytes or even standard megawatts anymore. We're talking like geopolitical utility scale, measured in gigawatts. I mean, look at the commitments. We learned that OpenAI is reportedly planning for tens of gigawatts of data center capacity, tens. And Microsoft, their main partner, is right there alongside them building these multi-gigawatt AI campuses just designed for this kind of workload. Meanwhile, you've got Google locking in Anthropic for what amounts to up to 1 million TPUs, securing that future access.
Well, the scale is what dictates these massive hardware deals, doesn't it? When you hear about OpenAI striking a $10 billion custom AI chip deal with Broadcom.
$10 billion.
Yeah, or that landmark agreement for 6 gigawatts worth of AMD Instinct GPUs rolling out from 2026. This isn't, standard IT procurement. This is companies basically commissioning these specialized parts and the energy grid access they need to run what looks like a new global utility.
And if we connect that to the, let's say, the bigger picture, the sustainability of this whole model immediately comes into question, doesn't it? If you need gigawatts of power, you also need just incredible amounts of cooling, water. Our sources highlighted some new evidence that's starting to challenge those maybe optimistic initial assumptions about data center water use.
Exactly. When scaling AI infrastructure becomes a geopolitical issue, which it seems to be, the resource consumption itself becomes a global constraint. If this exponential growth is really going to be sustained, the industry has to, rapidly address the environmental cost. They need to optimize for both cheaper power and less water. It's a huge challenge.
And they also need models that aren't just wasting the power they do manage to get right. This relentless hunt for compute access leads us straight into the corporate chessboard, specifically the really radical restructuring of OpenAI. We saw that landmark agreement valuing OpenAI at, $500 billion?
$4 trillion, yeah.
With Microsoft securing that massive 27% stake through a $135 billion investment. Huge numbers. But the real financial and maybe ethical nugget here is the new structure. OpenAI has officially restructured into a public benefit corporation, a PBC, but, and this is key, they've removed the profit cap.
Which is fascinating, isn't it? The structure itself is pretty radical. They moved from a capped profit venture to essentially an unlimited profit corporation, but the nonprofit foundation, it still keeps special board appointment rights and a huge equity stake. Plus, there's that transparency agreement with the Delaware Attorney General. So the fundamental incentives seem to have changed almost overnight. It looks like pure high-stakes profit maximization now. While trying to keep that nonprofit safety oversight structure, it's an incredibly delicate, maybe even precarious balance.
And tied right into that structure is the just stunningly aggressive timeline they've set, aiming for an internship-level AI researcher by 2026.
Just around the corner.
And then a fully independent, autonomous AI researcher by 2028. We really need to circle back to that later.
Yeah.
Because that 2028 goal, it fundamentally redefines the future of human white-collar work, potentially. Okay, now let's pivot. Let's move from the size of the box to the smartness of the models actually inside it. The trend seems to be moving away from just bigger is always better towards smarter and more efficient. We are seeing some genuine efficiency breakthroughs that challenge that old wisdom that you have to spend billions to get a top-tier model.
And this is a really critical insight, I think. For years, size pretty much equaled performance. Now we're seeing architectural superiority starting to emerge as maybe the key differentiator.
A perfect example seems to be IBM's Granite 4 Nano. This is only a 1 billion parameter model, tiny by today's standards. Yet we saw reports it's actually beating significantly larger peers like Quinn 3 1.7b in key areas like math and coding. So the takeaway for you listening is probably that the quality of the training data, the sophistication of the architecture itself, not just raw parameter count, that's what's driving performance now. And this efficiency momentum is also why maybe smaller open source players are becoming a genuine threat, or at least a serious alternative. We're seeing models like Minimax M2 emerge as apparently a real standout open-weight model for coding and agentic reasoning. Vendors are praising its generalization, its speed, its cost efficiency, sometimes claiming it outperforms much pricier incumbent models.
But that raises a really important question for you, the listener, doesn't it? If these smaller open source models are getting so good and they're widely available, how does a $500 billion valuation for a proprietary model maker still make sense?
Good question.
Well, the answer seems to lie in data quality and trust. Even as models get smarter, the competitive landscape is tightening. And that's leading to concerns about what our sources are calling junk data and even brain rot. What's fascinating, or maybe worrying, here is this call for much higher training standards. As developers scrape more and more of the web, the fear is that models are actually degrading their own reasoning capabilities.
How?
By internalizing low-quality information, repeating errors, it becomes a feedback loop. And that's a fundamental challenge for anyone relying on these systems for accuracy, for actual critical thinking.
And preventing that degradation, that brain rot, requires complex new methods, I assume.
Definitely. We learned that to keep models running smoothly and, crucially, keep them from forgetting past knowledge, what they call knowledge drift, you need something called continual learning.
Okay, continual learning. And this often involves advanced techniques, like mixture of experts, MOE training.
Exactly. For listeners maybe not familiar, MOE is sort of like running different specialist models all at once. The system then chooses the best expert for the specific task at hand.
Right.
And our sources highlighted some critical advances in making MOE training more stable, specifically something called token downweighting, which basically ensures that these complex multi-expert systems run robustly and efficiently. It's all about maintaining that quality control while you scale up complexity.
Okay, so we have bigger boxes, smarter models inside. Now let's move to the action, the application layer. How are these efficient, powerful models actually being deployed? Well, they are rapidly becoming autonomous actors, or agents. And this is creating what people are calling the agent economy, where the AI handles the transaction, not just the recommendation or the chat. And this is where AI converges directly with your money. Can you actually imagine?
Yeah.
PayPal partnered directly with OpenAI. Why? To embed secure payment processing within ChatGPT.
Right inside the chat.
Yeah. And then you have MasterCard and PayPal teaming up for agentic AI payments. They're projecting that AI bots could be responsible for the majority of retail site traffic by 2028. So the next time you argue about a refund online, you might genuinely be arguing with an autonomous $500 billion backed agent.
And it's not just consumer payments, is it? It's really about trust and security at scale. Starling Bank, for instance, over in the UK, they're rolling out the UK's first AI scam detector. Powered by Google Gemini, apparently, and designed specifically to analyze marketplace listings for fraud in real time.
Wow.
That level of sort of automated financial oversight just wasn't really possible even a year ago.
Well, this whole agent era is being fueled by developer empowerment tools, right?
Okay.
We're seeing that too. Postman released a new guidebook on making APIs agent-ready. They're anticipating agents transacting and orchestrating tasks across the whole web.
Building the infrastructure.
Yeah, and LangChain 1.0 seems to be setting the standard for deploying these agents quickly. Plus, GitHub's Agent HQ and their Copilot metrics.
Yeah.
They're now trying to quantify the productivity impact for the developers actually building these agent systems. Let's look at some specific specialized automation examples, because this is where that 2028 timeline starts to feel, well, pretty real. PwC is investing $2 billion in AI-driven audit tools, aiming for more accurate financial scrutiny. That's autonomy right in the corporate back office.
A huge area.
In healthcare, Honey Health raised nearly $8 million to automate medical back office tasks. Meanwhile, the NHS over in the UK is trialing AI for same-day prostate cancer diagnosis. Even your lifestyle's changing, right? Google's launching a Gemini-powered Fitbit personal health coach.
So yeah, PwC pouring billions into making complex financial audits autonomous. That sounds great, but that autonomy comes with major immediate risks. We absolutely have to discuss the inherent security threats of this agent proliferation. Researchers recently discovered something called the shadow escape zero-click exploit.
Okay, tell us about that. Shadow escape. How does a system designed for something like audit accuracy suddenly become a data thief?
Well, the exploit targets something called the model context protocol. That's basically how agents access and share information they're working with. The shadow escape allows attackers to silently, and this is the key part, zero-click steal sensitive data. Think finance docs, healthcare records, right from the agent itself. The human user never clicks anything suspicious. It just happens in the background.
That's scary.
It really highlights a massive potential vulnerability in this new agent architecture. And you couple that with the scrutiny around OpenAI's own Atlas ChatGPT browser regarding potential phishing and data leaks, it makes it crystal clear that robust, purpose-built security measures and, frankly, careful human oversight are now absolutely critical for anyone deploying these agent systems. You can't just let them run wild.
Yeah, that's a serious counterweight to all the enthusiasm over automation, isn't it? Okay, so let's bring this all back to you, the listener. What we've really witnessed here is this kind of three-pronged transformation. First, a massive, almost geopolitical scale infrastructure build-out. Second, these breakthroughs in efficient, smarter model architecture. Less brute force, more elegance. And third, all of that is rapidly translating into specialized agent technology that is penetrating basically every high-value industry. Banking, audit, healthcare, you name it.
And that scale of integration is already playing a pivotal and often incredibly sensitive role in society. I mean, the source material revealed that ChatGPT is already handling over 1 million weekly conversations related to suicide and mental health.
1 million a week.
1 million a week. That just underscores how deeply and how quickly these systems are getting woven into the most vulnerable aspects of human life.
Wow. Okay, that depth and that increasing autonomy lead us right back to the question that sort of launched our exploration today. Given that these agents are automating everything from payments and back-office tasks to complex research pipelines, how quickly will the remaining human job in these fields shift? Shift away from execution towards purely supervision of these autonomous systems? What will that ratio human execution versus machine supervision actually look like by 2028? That's the very year OpenAI is targeting for a fully autonomous AI researcher. Definitely something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.